For 12 seasons, The Big Bang Theory sold us the charming illusion that awkward geniuses, comic books, and a broken elevator could somehow hold the universe together. But off-camera, the script got darker: fame reinvention, silent struggles, and heartbreaking loss. Some stars soared, some disappeared, and some left too soon because, sadly, real life doesn't come with a laugh track. 1. Debbie Wolowitz, voiced by Carol Ann Suzy. She never needed a single step into the spotlight to become one of the Big Bang Theory's most unforgettable forces. As Debbie Wolowitz, Carol Ann Suzy built a legend from pure sound alone, an off-screen hurricane of love, chaos, sarcasm, and motherly domination that turned every shouted line into sitcom gold. She wasn't just Howard's mother. She was the invisible giant of the series, a comic presence so powerful she filled rooms she never entered. But behind that thunderous brilliance was a heartbreaking truth. In 2014, Carol Ann Suzy died after battling cancer, and with her passing, the show lost more than a voice. It lost a pulse, a warmth, a strange and beautiful madness that could never truly be replaced. Her body left this world, but that voice, it still echoes like laughter trapped in memory. 2. Stephen Hawking, the mind that made even Sheldon tremble. He didn't just guest star on The Big Bang Theory. He arrived like the universe itself had stepped onto the set, calm, brilliant, and terrifyingly untouchable. Every scene with Stephen Hawking felt bigger than comedy, because when he spoke, even Sheldon's ego suddenly looked small. He brought wit, gravity, and a kind of fragile majesty that no script could fake. Behind that legendary mind was a life marked by extraordinary courage as he battled ALS for decades, while still changing how humanity understood time, space, and existence itself. When Hawking died in 2018 at 76, it felt less like losing a guest star and more like watching a star collapse, silent, distant, and unbearably immense. 3. Professor Proton, played by Bob Newhart. He didn't just enter the Big Bang Theory, he drifted in like a fading signal from a kinder, simpler universe, carrying the ghostly warmth of childhood wonder. As Professor Proton, Bob Newhart gave Sheldon more than a TV idol. He gave him a fragile bridge back to innocence wrapped in wit, quiet sorrow, and old-school charm. Every line felt soft, but it landed deep. Long before this role, Newhart had already carved his name into comedy history, and in this series he turned nostalgia into something almost sacred. When he passed away in 2024 at 94, it felt like the last star of a gentler sky finally burned out, leaving behind only light memory and an ache no laugh track could hide. 4. Carrie Fisher, the woman who made chaos look effortless. Carrie Fisher stepped into the Big Bang Theory the way only Carrie Fisher could. Like a woman completely aware that fame is absurd, Hollywood is ridiculous, and the best response is to raise an eyebrow and steal the scene anyway. Her appearance was brief, but that was never the point. Fisher didn't need time, she needed impact. Long before this show, she had already burned herself into pop culture as Princess Leia, sharp, fearless, and too iconic to be contained by any franchise or fantasy. But behind that wit lived a life marked by pressure, pain, and battles the public turned into headlines. When she died in 2016 after cardiac arrest, the loss felt cruelly fitting. In the worst possible way, the woman who made survival look sarcastically easy had been carrying far more than the world deserved to ask of her. 5. Stan Lee, the man who created heroes, then became one. He didn't just walk into the Big Bang Theory. He arrived like a living monument, The kind of legend who could turn a simple sitcom cameo into pop culture mythology. As himself, Stan Lee brought that unmistakable sparkle of mischief, warmth, and larger-than-life wonder, reminding everyone that genius doesn't always wear a lab coat. Sometimes it builds entire universes. Long before that moment, he had already changed the world by helping create Marvel's greatest heroes, from Spider-Man to the X-Men, giving generations something to believe in. But even legends are not spared the final page. When Lee died in 2018 at 95, it felt as if the man behind countless immortals was finally claimed by mortality himself, leaving behind not silence but an echo of courage, imagination, and a sadness too big for any comic panel to hold. 6. James Earl Jones, the voice that could shake the stars. He didn't just appear on The Big Bang Theory, he arrived like thunder wrapped in velvet, a man whose voice could make a joke feel legendary and a room feel instantly sacred. James Earl Jones turned his cameo into pure magic, blending mischief, warmth, and that colossal presence only true icons possess. Long before that moment, he had already etched himself into cinematic immortality as Darth Vader Mufasa, and one of the most commanding voices ever gifted to the screen. But even voices that seem eternal must one day fall silent. When Jones passed away in 2024 at 93, it felt as if the world lost not just an actor, but a sound woven into our collective memory, majestic, haunting, and far too powerful to ever truly disappear. 7. Adam West. The joke was funny until it wasn't. Adam West walked into The Big Bang Theory carrying something modern TV forgot how to fake: effortless charm. Not the dark, tortured kind Hollywood loves to dress up and sell twice, but the old-school kind, dry, weird, playful, and just self-aware enough to make the whole room lean in. That was always his magic. Long before caped heroes became billion-dollar trauma machines, West made Batman feel bright, ridiculous, and strangely human. In the show, his presence wasn't just a cameo, it felt like a wink from a softer era. Then came the part nobody laughs at. In 2017, West died at 88 after battling leukemia, and suddenly that familiar grin hit differently. What once felt delightfully absurd now feels almost ghostly, like television itself briefly remembered how to smile before losing one of the men who taught it how. 8. Leonard Nimoy, the voice that outlived the body. Leonard Nimoy didn't need a full entrance in The Big Bang Theory to leave a mark, just that voice. Cool, precise, almost surgically calm, it carried the weight of decades and made one small moment feel strangely immortal. By then, Nimoy was already far beyond television fame. As Spock, he hadn't just played a character. He helped build the religion of science fiction, then stretched his legacy into directing, writing, photography, and poetry. That kind of life doesn't fade quietly. So when he died in 2015 at 83 from complications of COPD, the loss felt less like news and more like an airlock sealing shut somewhere in the dark. The man was gone. The voice stayed. And somehow, that makes it sadder. But while those unforgettable legends left behind echoes of brilliance and loss, the heart of The Big Bang Theory still lived in the main cast. The faces who carried the laughter, the loneliness, and the fragile human mess hiding beneath the genius. 9. Sheldon Cooper. Brilliant, broken, and still echoing. Sheldon Cooper was the kind of character who could make genius look hilarious and loneliness look almost scientific. Every bazinga, every meltdown over routine, every painfully honest line turned him into the glorious disaster at the center of the Big Bang Theory. He wasn't just difficult, he was fragile in a way the show hid behind punchlines. That was the trick. Under all the intellect, the rules, and the ego was a man terrified of chaos, intimacy, and a world that refused to behave logically. Jim Parsons made that contradiction unforgettable, winning 4 Emmy Awards for turning Sheldon into something more dangerous than a stereotype, a human being. Today, Parsons is 53 and still very much active, shifting from sitcom immortality to stage and dramatic work. After leading Broadway's Our Town, he returned to Broadway again in Titanic, proving that the man behind Sheldon never got stuck in apartment 4A. And while he has said he would not do a Big Bang Theory reboot right now, he also made clear he sees the role as a blessing rather than a burden, which somehow makes Sheldon sadder. In hindsight, not because he was broken, but because the man who played him moved on, and the character still lingers like unfinished laughter in an empty room. 10. Bernadette Rostenkowski. Sweet voice, sharp teeth. Bernadette didn't walk into the Big Bang Theory like a storm. She walked in sounding adorable, then slowly made it clear she could ruin your confidence, your argument, and probably your entire bloodline without ever raising that tiny voice. That was the joke and the genius. Melissa Rauch built Bernadette into one of the show's slyest weapons, cute on the surface, ruthless underneath, and somehow still deeply human. She wasn't just Howard's wife or the girl with the high-pitched voice. She became a strange little powerhouse, funny, fierce, ambitious, and just intimidating enough to make everyone sit up straighter. And while the character made chaos look effortless, Rauch quietly proved she was far more than a sitcom sidekick. Even now, she still carries that same energy, bright, sharp, and impossible to underestimate. Bernadette may have sounded small, but she hit like a warning shot. 11. Leonard Hofstadter, the man who kept the madness human. Leonard Hofstadter was never the loudest person in the Big Bang Theory, and that was exactly the point. While everyone around him was busy turning neurosis into theater, Leonard carried the quieter burden, being the one who still wanted love, normalcy, and some fragile version of peace in a world run by ego equations and emotional malfunction. He was awkward without being absurd, brilliant without needing applause, and gentle in a universe full of people who mistook volume for importance. That's what made him dangerous. In a different way, he felt real. Johnny Galecki played Leonard like a man constantly surviving his own life with a half smile and just enough patience to keep the whole machine from exploding. His romance with Penny gave the series its emotional backbone, not because it was perfect, but because it was messy, uneven, and painfully human. Beneath the sarcasm and glasses was a man forever trying to prove that intelligence didn't have to come without warmth. And maybe that's why Leonard lingers. He wasn't built like a legend. He was built like a person. Today, Galecki remains one of the quieter figures from the cast, private, respected, and still carrying the kind of understated gravity Hollywood rarely rewards enough. 12. Penny. The smile that held the madness together. Penny walked into the Big Bang Theory like a punchline the universe didn't see coming. Blonde, fearless, funny, and standing in the hallway like chaos wrapped in sunlight. Surrounded by men who could explain string theory but could barely survive eye contact, she became the one thing that apartment building desperately lacked: instinct, warmth, and the kind of emotional intelligence no PhD could fake. That was her real power. Penny didn't need equations. She just needed one look, one laugh, one brutally honest sentence, and suddenly the whole room made sense. Kaylee Cuoco played her with a sparkle that made the comedy effortless, but beneath the wit was something sadder. Penny was always the outsider in a world obsessed with intellect, often treated like she was less, because she was different, prettier, louder, more human. And yet she became the heart of the show anyway. That quiet irony never stopped stinging. Today, Cuoco remains one of the brightest stars to come out of the series with acclaimed work in The Flight Attendant and beyond. But Penny still lingers like the smile that kept all that beautiful nerd chaos from collapsing into itself. 13. Howard Wolowitz, the clown who grew a soul. Howard Wolowitz entered The Big Bang Theory like a walking bad decision. Loud shirts, worse pickup lines, zero shame, and the kind of confidence only a man completely disconnected from reality could carry. At first, he looked like comic relief in astronaut boots, the guy most likely to turn a science joke into an HR complaint. But that was the bait. Under all the sleaze noise and desperate swagger was something sadder, a man hiding insecurity behind punchlines, performing confidence because real vulnerability terrified him. That's what made Howard one of the show's most surprising evolutions. He didn't stay the punchline. He became a husband, a father, and somehow the proof that even the most ridiculous person in the room could grow into someone worth rooting for. His journey never lost the comedy, but it gained weight. Simon Helberg played that shift beautifully, turning Howard from an irritating man-child into one of the series' most unexpectedly human characters. And maybe that's why Howard still hits harder than people expect. The jokes were obvious. The sadness wasn't. Beneath the magic tricks, the flirting, and the endless need to be noticed was a man who wanted what everyone else wanted: to matter, to be loved, and to stop pretending he was fine before the room got too quiet. 14. Raj Koothrappali, the romantic who hid his heart behind the joke. Raj Koothrappali was never the loudest man in The Big Bang Theory, at least not at first. In the beginning, silence was his prison. Surrounded by louder egos, bigger personalities, and endless sarcasm, Raj became the quiet ache at the edge of the group. Brilliant, sweet, painfully awkward, and almost tragic in the way he kept reaching for connection while barely knowing how to survive a conversation. That was his magic. The joke was that he couldn't speak to women. The sadness was that he wanted love more than anyone else in the room. Kunal Nayyar gave Raj something easy sitcoms rarely bother with: softness. Beneath the nervous charm, the romantic fantasies, and the polished one-liners was a man constantly afraid of being left behind. He wasn't chasing women nearly as much as he was chasing the feeling of finally being chosen. That's what made Raj quietly devastating. While everyone else was busy turning chaos into comedy, he carried longing like a second skin. And maybe that's why Raj still lingers. Not because he was the funniest, but because he was the most tender. In a world full of geniuses trying to sound certain, Raj was the one character brave enough to feel uncertain out loud. 15. Amy Farah Fowler, the woman who turned logic into love. Amy Farah Fowler didn't arrive on The Big Bang Theory like a grand romantic miracle. She showed up like a clerical error in the universe, brilliant, blunt, emotionally sealed shut, and somehow so awkward she made Sheldon look socially moisturized. At first, she felt like the joke nobody knew where to file. Then he became something far more dangerous, the quiet force that taught the show how to feel. Beneath the lab coat precision was a woman carrying years of loneliness, restraint, and the almost tragic hunger to be chosen. Mayim Bialik played that ache with surgical precision, turning Amy into one of the series' most unexpectedly human souls. By the time the Nobel Prize arrived, it didn't feel like a victory lap. It felt like a rescue. And now, unlike Amy Bialik's life has moved into a calmer, fuller chapter, she still hosts Mayim Bialik's Breakdown, remains active as a writer and creator, and continues acting, including appearing in Jim Jarmusch's Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, which screened at Venice in 2025. The woman behind Amy kept going smarter, steadier, and no less fascinating. 16. Stuart Bloom, the man who made failure look almost poetic. Stuart Bloom never entered the Big Bang Theory like a winner. He drifted in like the human version of bad luck, pale, awkward, chronically exhausted, and carrying the kind of defeated energy that suggested life had been quietly mocking him for years. That was the joke, of course. Stuart was the guy with the comic book store, the collapsing confidence, and the permanent expression of someone expecting disappointment before the sentence even ended. But underneath all that beautifully timed misery was something much sadder, a man so used to being overlooked that even kindness seemed to surprise him. Kevin Sussman played Stuart with a kind of broken elegance, turning loneliness into comedy without stripping it of its sting. He wasn't loud like Howard or theatrical like Sheldon. He just stood there unraveling softly and somehow made that unforgettable. Stuart became the show's secret melancholy machine, the reminder that not everyone in this world gets to be the genius, the hero, or even the romantic lead. Some people just keep showing up half falling apart, hoping the universe eventually gets tired of hitting them. And maybe that's why he stayed with people. Stuart wasn't larger than life. He was smaller, sadder, and painfully real. And that is the bittersweet legacy of the Big Bang Theory, a world built on laughter, awkward brilliance, and characters who somehow felt larger than fiction and closer than friends. Some made us laugh the hardest, some broke our hearts when we least expected it, and some still linger like echoes from a show that never fully left us. Now we want to hear from you. Which character was your absolute favorite? And is there anyone we still haven't mentioned who deserves a place on this list? Leave a comment and let us know.